Look, I'm sure you're not aware of this because there's been hardly any media coverage, so allow me to let you in on a secret. This weekend, Prince Harry marries Meghan Markle. Annabelle Crabb will be one of the hosts of the ABC's wedding broadcast on Saturday night. Annabelle Crabb, finally all those hours binge watching The Crown are paying off.
As I always secretly knew it would, Lee. Actually, look, that show is a great reminder that spousal choice in the royal family has always been a fraught affair. I mean, even the Queen had to fight quite hard to marry Prince Philip. And I think the interesting thing about Meghan Markle is not that she's American or divorced or took her top off in the telly once. It's that she hasn't been vetoed on any of those grounds, even though she once would have been.
Will this wedding contribute to the longevity of the monarchy?
Well, it'll certainly contribute to the royal family's other role as the national soap opera. But, you know, if you want answers to these questions, you really have to ask the locals. So this week I jumped into a black cab, hooned around London and did exactly that. In London, there's never been a more exciting time to be marrying a prince. Historically inflexible on matters of spousal choice, the British monarchy will this weekend open its arms to a bride who is a commoner, biracial, a divorcee, Catholic by birth, and, most shockingly of all, an American. Is this a tectonic shift in the monarchy itself, or is it just a wedding? I'm in London to find out. G'day, John.
Hello, darling.
So, John, where are you from 1 to 10 on the Royal Wedding Excitement Index?
The excitement index is probably about a 2, I guess.
Oh, 2. Okay. Why do people get so excited about royal weddings?
I don't know, I guess it's the romance. People need to escape from the never-ending drudgery of their lives, perhaps.
Historian Anna Whitelock has devoted her academic career to the study of arcane royal tradition. But she's happy to talk to me about the royals who still have a pulse.
Hi, Anna. Hi. Hi. Thank you for jumping in my car. Oh, this is very nice. Nice to meet you.
Is this like the Olympics for royal historians?
It is quite a busy time. It is the first Anglo-American wedding, of course, since Wallis Simpson and Edward VIII, and
that didn't pan out so well.
And I feel sorry in a sense for that comparison to be made, because it was such a different time, but also, you know, Edward was the king. Harry is not the king, and he's not going to be the king. He's sixth in line to the throne. So
it's a rather precarious position to be in as an heir to the throne, where you can be bumped back a notch every time your brother has a baby.
I know, but I think in Harry's case, he's happy about that.
Right.
I mean, Harry's talked, you know, quite openly about how difficult I think he's found the role and the expectation. For those of us particularly who remember the young Harry, who, of course, I mean, that image of him walking behind his mother's coffin, and if you remember the floral tribute on the coffin saying
yes,
Mummy,
I do, yeah.
And I think any of us of a certain age, we kind of feel a bit of a sort of maternal protection towards Harry.
So what's the difference between the royal family and the monarchy?
In a sense, the royal family, as we know it, is a sort of invention of the last couple of hundred years, which of course was when the House of Windsor became the House of Windsor. In the midst of the First World War,
they stopped being German.
They can be German. And so this whole bit of spin happened. It was a massive royal rebrand. In the past, the monarchy was all about fighting wars and about defending, you know, the country and all about that kind of stuff. When the monarch didn't have that role anymore, and we had a constitutional monarchy and power was stripped away, it's like, okay, we need to find a new brand, let's push royal family. 1990s happens and all the marriages you know, start to dissolve, and then it's like, that becomes really toxic. And of course what's great at the moment is that royal romance is back.
You do hear a bit of public support around the place for this idea that the monarchy could just skip a generation and go straight to Prince William.
I don't think that's going to happen. So, you know, Annabelle, don't put a bet on it. I wouldn't advise it. First of all, the Queen, you know, abdication is completely an anathema to her. First of all, you know, her uncle abdicated, and to the crisis that threw the monarchy into, the fact that her father had to suddenly step up and be king. So abdication is never going to happen. The cult of the royal family may be quite a recent invention, but there's no doubt that for oxygen and survival,
it relies heavily on one of its oldest enemies, the press. Les Hinton started as a copy boy for the Adelaide News and ended up running Rupert Murdoch's newspapers in Britain during the turbulent last years in the life of Princess Diana.
Hey, how are you?
Oh,
Nice to see you. How are you?
As a genuine historical megafauna of the British press industry, you have a better eye line than anybody into the truth about the relationship between the media and the royal family here in Britain. I mean, to the external eye, it looks like hand-to-hand combat, but is it more complicated than that?
It's much different than that, because the truth is that there's an uneasy collusion that exists between the media and the royal family. And for sure, the royal family, when you think about it, couldn't function without the media attention it gets, because they have no currency at all except public approval. And their ambition is to create, which they've done a good job of for a long time, an eternal brand for its owners with incomparable living conditions. And to do that, they have to cooperate with the press. I mean, I was running a group of newspapers here, and my phone went one day, and my secretary said, "There's a woman on the phone who says she's Princess Diana." I thought, well,
that happens 10 times a day, I'm guessing.
So we didn't take any chances, and it was Diana on the phone. I'd been in the job for a few weeks, and she was very good at handling the media, and she was telling me how terribly, how beleaguered she was. And she said, it was such a corny line, I'll never forget. She said, "Mr. Hinton, I'm a damsel in distress. Can you help me?" And the fact is, I couldn't really help her. And it was only, it was a couple of years after that she died. And I remembered this in the office the night of her death, and I felt kind of sick when I heard what had happened and that she'd be being followed by the paparazzi.
Do you think it's possible for the press permanently to keep our noses out of this family's internal affairs? I mean, everybody backed off after Diana's death, but then the phone hacking of William and Harry.
Yeah. They're sustained by the population of the country, and the country has the right to know about them and the right to feel critical of them. But the press has a duty not to overdo it in the way in which they're intrusive. But to be critical of them is fair game.
One thing the royal family has always been is unremittingly white. Meghan Markle's African-American heritage changes that. But to what end? I'm asking diversity activist and recruitment executive Joanna Abai.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome to my office.
Thank you.
So, is it just a symbolic shift? Or, I mean, how important is it to have this biracial woman marrying into the royal family?
I think symbolically it does say it doesn't matter who you are, and that's why I think that says anybody can, fall in love and meet someone like, a prince, and that can happen. And I think that is what that symbolises. I don't know that it says, I don't know, for sort of ethnic minorities, you kind of sit there going, as a child, I hope to marry a white prince one day.
Is there a burden on those people like Meghan Markle to be perfect and everything to all people and to be a flawless spokesperson for that group?
Absolutely. She can be a positive role model, and she can do that being a biracial woman, black woman, fine. But I think it would be really unfair to expect that Meghan is now going to be the poster girl for all black women and their views in the UK.
Let's face it, the upside is that the next few years are pretty much going to be occupied with the British press hammering her to have a baby. So,
yeah, of course. That'll be the next thing that should, it's going to be all about that. I don't think this wedding really changes the monarchy itself. But to survive, the monarchy needs a PR wing. And that PR wing, the royal family, can, from this weekend, finally claim a closer resemblance to the people it governs. Which, for an outfit eternally on the prowl for relevance, is no small thing.